Good afternoon, Rich Nass, Executive Vice President of Open Systems Media and leader of the Embedded and IoT brands, here for my weekly chat, which I wish was a fireside chat because it's so cold here, with Ray Zinn. Hello, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Rich. And we talk about a fireside chat. I'm sitting here in Helena, Montana, which is where my ranch is, and it's 24 degrees, and it's going to snow in about 2 more hours from now. So we probably have 2 to 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Okay, so we could both use some marshmallows and some hot cocoa right about now.
You got it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just back from CES, and as usual, it was a zoo. One of the things that seems to, I won't say change, but the area that grows every year is automotive technology. This year it filled up an entire hall, and in addition, there were like 3 or 4 parking lots, and it was pretty cold in Vegas too, which surprised me. But there were a few parking lots where they were doing demos of autonomous cars. And it was I was in one of those cars where they took me for a ride, and the car drove itself. And it is pretty freaky watching the steering wheel turn by itself as you're sitting there. But anyway, what do you think of all this with the future of automotive electronics? If you look at the amount of electronics content that's in a car today, it's actually pretty staggering. Even if you compare that to just a few years ago, and the whole autonomous driving thing, is this for real, or is this a way for the semiconductor guys to just sell more stuff? What do you think?
I think it's both. We live in a technology era. I mean, this is probably, in the last only 20 years anyway, probably the most technological advancement we've ever seen in semiconductors, and for that matter, in electronics. We just celebrated the 10th year of the iPhone, and we know what that's done. And now we're going with the iWatch, or at least with the smart watches, and smart cars are just an evolution of this technology. And I think it's not surprising to me to see this.
So you think it'll just keep going, and the amount of electronics in the car will just continue to grow? I mean, when you get to electric cars, which I guess is the holy grail, then it's 100% electric.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just the means of powering the car, being electric as opposed to gas or petrol. But the technology evolution, not just with cars. We have the smart home. You can now get from Amazon a thing called Echo, and you can almost control your whole home by just saying, do this or do that. And it's getting to the point now where, we'll be so lazy, we'll just sit in our chairs and then just command everything to happen around us. I don't know what that's going to do for our waistline, but certainly it's going in that direction.
All right. Well, I certainly agree about all that stuff. And one of the most annoying things at CES was all the people who are walking around staring at their phone and bumping into everybody. That has to change.
Well, hopefully in the electronic car, or the self-driving car, we won't go around bumping into each other. In fact, that's one of the reasons I think there's an advantage to the self-driving car, is the fact that it should be safer. Airplanes now, they virtually fly themselves. You can take off and land now completely with hands off, and the en route for sure is all automated now, and that's supposed to make the airways safer. And I think we can get there with cars. It will take some time, but probably within the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be pretty common to see these cars driving themselves around.
Are you comfortable with that? Have you ever been in a self-driving car?
Haven't, not yet. Not been there yet. I was talking to a driver. He drives for Lyft, and he was worried about his future. And it was interesting to hear him talk on the way to the airport last Friday about how his job is in jeopardy now because of the self-driving cars.
Yeah, well, people are constantly displaced by technology, and that's just another one for sure, without a doubt.
But if you can get more done, I mean, some of these folks are commuting, an hour and a half to work. But if you can hold meetings, or if you can work on your presentations while your car drives itself, presuming that the law will allow the car to drive itself without your attention, there's some savings there, because a lot of time is wasted just commuting. So if we can reduce the impact on our daily lives by not having to personally drive the car, then we can get all that more done while the car drives itself.
Yeah, very true. One of the interesting things I heard at CES when they were talking about not autonomous driving, but having smart cars, having the car know where a parking spot is so you're not riding around. The stat that they threw out was actually ST Microelectronics who mentioned this. 30% of all driving is people looking for parking spots. That's incredible.
That's interesting. I think that's probably true in the big cities. Not so true in the smaller.
But what a waste! I mean, just the waste of fuel and time. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think some of the I think there's an app out actually that will help you locate a parking spot. You have to pay, of course, for that privilege, but I do think there's an app out that will tell you where there's a parking space, and there you go. Then you're not driving around. You just go to that location and park.
Well, they have something in New York City. There's an app where there's people around the city who will park your cars for you, and there's multiple of them. You hit the app, it'll tell you where the closest person is who will park your car. Then you just leave your car there, and they'll find a spot for you and let you know where it is. And I guess they drop the keys a little.
That's another evolution to this issue of commuting. I think that's a good app, by the way. If somebody will park your car for you.
There you go. So we need to go on Shark Tank and see if we can get some money to get that going, right?
Well, you said the app already exists, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. But a lot of these things are where we're getting on a different subject, but with an infusion of cash, you can market to a lot more people and make it a lot more popular.
Yeah, and I know for a fact that you can ask your computer or your smartwatch or your mobile device. You can ask it where there's a location for parking, and it will tell you. It's a service that they provide, and then of course you pay for that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Ray, I think we're out of time for this week. Hopefully people will be reading all of our coverage of CES, and I look forward to speaking with you next week.
It's a zoo, I know that. I've not been there except when it was a zoo, so when you go, you just expect to be at the zoo.
Yeah, it's a zoo, and I won't get into it. It was exhausting. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
All right, you have a great week, Ray, and I will talk to you next week.
Well, thanks a lot, Rich.
Bye-bye.
Bye.